Hello learners. We will today discuss about the last topic of week 5, the 5th week, that is weighing and balancing approach adopted by arbitral tribunal for reviewing if the regulatory measures are expropriatory in nature or not. We've been talking about other approaches in the past few videos, sole effect doctrine, police power doctrine. So this is probably the newest approach or the newest trend where the arbitral tribunals does an analysis of weighing and balancing different factors in order to arrive at the decision. Probably that's how it gets the name weighing and balancing. If we see, it is Dolzer and Bloch who have used this phrase weighing and balancing to sort of denote this kind of an approach by the arbitral tribunals. So essentially the recent awards, if we see, we can see the shift from police powers and sole effect doctrine to some sort of a weighing and balancing exercise that these arbitral tribunals undertake. And this is the Dolzer and Bloch have identified the approaches that were actually taken by the arbitral tribunal and then gave a name to it, saying that some sort of a weighing and balancing exercise is done by the arbitral tribunals. So in this approach, it is possible for the arbitral tribunal to say that there is no requirement of payment of compensation because this was a legitimate regulatory measure. At the same time, in this approach, undertaking this approach, the arbitral tribunal can also award compensation to be paid to the investor even when the threshold for expropriation, which generally under a sole effect doctrine is higher, that is not even met. So it could go either way. And what is the difference if the arbitral tribunal is going to award compensation to the investor for a regulatory measure, then how is it different from the sole effect doctrine? In the sole effect doctrine, the threshold is higher. So for a tribunal that applies sole effect doctrine, then the regulatory measure should meet that a higher threshold. But in case of weighing and balancing approach, what happens is the measure may not reach up to that threshold, but still the arbitral tribunal may award compensation to the investor, but this compensation may be proportional to the loss, economic loss that the investor had suffered, right? If in case of sole effect doctrine, threshold is high, but the quantum of compensation is also higher. But in case of weighing and balancing approach, even when the threshold is lower, the compensation awarded could be proportional to the economic loss suffered. So that's a key distinction between sole effects and weighing and balancing approach. Anyway, Dolzer and Bloch have stated that they cannot conclude affirmatively what seems to be the predominant approach, whether it is sole effect doctrine or if it is weighing and balancing doctrine, that they cannot predominantly say that represents a mainstream international thinking. Then Dolzer and Bloch have also sort of identified the factors that a tribunal looks at while deciding this question. They say they look at the effect of the measure, they look at the impact, then they look at the purpose of the measure as well. But Dolzer and Bloch have been careful to say that many arbitral tribunals, they have exercised a caution that many arbitral tribunals do not rely on the government's statement to look at the purpose behind the regulatory measure. So, you may get little confused, and how else can we find the purpose of the regulatory measure? Purpose of the regulatory measure, the easy way to find that is, at the time of enacting that regulatory measure, what were the grounds that were mentioned or why it had come. So that should be our first primary source for looking at what the purpose of the regulatory measure is, right? So that is what Dolzer and Bloch say is that is not easily relied on, or the tribunal does not place full reliance on those factors while answering the question, but they undertake an analysis and find out what is the purpose of the regulation. In order to elaborate more on this point, in the next video, we will look at the decided cases and see how the tribunals have undertaken the examination to identify the purpose of the regulatory measure. But to very briefly talk about how the arbitral tribunal approaches this question, I would like to give you two examples. One is TechMed case, other one is Crystallis case. In TechMed case, if you look at this particular question, there was a resolution that was passed by the government agency which refused to renew the license to operate the landfill, and they mentioned a few grounds for it. They mentioned the grounds like the waste stored in one cell number 2 was exceeding its limit, and that was identified by another agency, and then they communicated that it is beyond the limit, and then the landfill was being operated as a transportation center, in the sense that the waste that has to be taken to other landfill is being stored here temporarily. And third, there were certain kinds of waste, liquid and bacterial waste, that are stored without authorization. So those were the grounds that they had mentioned. But the tribunal, while undertaking the purpose behind why the refusal was granted, also gave weightage to the fact that the agency which refused to renew the license had a meeting with the mayor and governor, and there were community pressure building up against the landfill. So the tribunal concluded that INE's, the agency's refusal to renew the license, was something that resulted because of socio-political circumstance. So rather than directly relying on what the instrument says, they looked at, they took a holistic approach to arrive at the purpose. This is something that happened in TechMed case. Anyway, this case is discussed in detail in the next week, so you can wait for the video there, and then you will get more clarity on the point that I just made. In the second case, in Crystallis case also, so there was this government agency that refused to give AARN, which meant authorization to affect natural resources. Only if you have that permit, AARN, then you can undertake a gold exploitation work for the concession that was awarded to you. When AARN was refused to Crystallis, which is a claimant in this case, the document stated that the purpose for not giving was environmental damage to the forest reserve, and it also mentioned global climate change is also one of the reasons. But the tribunal did not accept prima facie the reasons mentioned in the order that refused AARN, but rather looked at why AARN was refused. So, and in this case, the tribunal questioned that nowhere you had mentioned before that the project posed a huge environmental risk and all of that, nowhere it was mentioned. Then all of a sudden, while denying AARN, where does all these reasons come up? So that is the point that Dalzer and Block are also trying to make, that many arbitral tribunals do not rely on the statement, the own statement of the government, in order to identify the purpose of the regulation, since it sort of becomes a very significant factor, especially with regard to the application of weighing and balancing approach. So this, the approach of how a tribunal looks at the government regulation, the purpose of a government regulation, is discussed in detail in the next video. So going back to the other points of weighing and balancing approach, we just discussed what are the factors that the arbitral tribunal looks at. One is the effect, and then the purpose, and the ability of the investor to enjoy and to use the investment. So these are the factors that the arbitral primarily looks at. But the question still remains the same: why should the investor bear the burden of protecting the environment, or why should the public bear the burden of protecting the environment? In case of sole effect approach, then it is a public bearing the brunt. But in case of a police power approach, then it is the investor. So where is it? So then Dalzer and Block also have tried to identify the threshold, and they said that in each case a threshold had to be found between regulation and expropriation, and this threshold is not going to be a constant one. It's going to differ case by case basis because of the factual circumstance of the case, because of the arguments adduced by both the parties, and many other factors are at play, because of which the threshold is going to be, the arbitral tribunal find the threshold on a case by case basis. So that is there. No, but if we look at Justice Black's statement, what Justice Black said in the context of Fifth Amendment to the US Constitution was, he said that the government should pay compensation if it affects some people while taking a measure that benefits the society as a whole, because then in that case that payment of compensation something will act as a bar for government to force some people to bear the cost of public burden. So applying that logic, then weighing and balancing approach sort of gets more significance, and the question translates to distribution of environmental cost. Why should only one of the stakeholders bear the full force? Why can't the environmental cost be distributed? If the question is about distribution of environmental cost, what about other factors? Why should those factors not be considered? Some scholars have stated that, other than compensation from the host state, sometimes the insurance payments are also made. The investors have insurance, and any sort of an economic loss, probably they may get a payout from the insurance company as well. So if the question is essentially about distributing environmental cost, then shouldn't the insurance payment be one of the factors that should be considered? Right. So some scholars do argue that since the insurance companies are making the payment, therefore it sort of justifies that no compensation should be paid to the investor, because in any way they are getting the payment from some other source. But scholars like Bean and Beovoice, they have been making an argument saying that even if insurance company makes the payment, what happens is these company will get reimbursed by the host state. So they sort of question the entire argument that they are getting, the investors are getting the payment from insurance, therefore no compensation is to be paid. If we accept Bean and Beovoice argument, then ultimately it is a host state that is making the payment, because the insurance company may get reimbursement from the host state. But the question boils down to essentially this fact that even multilateral investment guarantee agency sort of which provides insurance for non-economic risk or political risk, in Article 11 says that any adverse effect because of a non-discriminatory measure of general application will not be covered. Just by looking at what MIGA's Article 11 says, then one question comes to our mind, that is, even when insurance company is not going to make payment for a non-discriminatory measure of general application, why should the host state still make the payment? So maybe I may come off as a sympathizer for police power doctrine, but the question is same, when insurance companies are not making the payment for non-discriminatory measure, then why should the host state make? This question, if we look at it in the context of the sort of wealth that an MNC, the investor possess, versus the level of development of the host state, then I may tend towards the exercise of police power, or for the tribunal to adopt police power approach. The reason being, when Argentina faced the financial crisis, and looking at the amount that was claimed by US investors, they wanted the compensation. In total, if we consider of all the cases that were filed against Argentina pursuant to the measures it adopted during the economic crisis, the amount that was claimed was almost exceeding the annual budget of Argentina. So in such cases, when looking at the power play between the MNC and the host state, I may tend to sympathize with the host state not paying compensation if it was a legitimate non-discriminatory measure taken for the protection of environment. But otherwise, if we see overall of all three approaches, weighing and balancing approach seems to get the most support from scholars, as well as we can see the shift in trend where the arbitral tribunals in recent days have also been adopting weighing and balancing approach. And if you want to read more about weighing and balancing approach in the context of the WTO law, probably Korea beef case. Korea beef case could be an interesting read, but this is how it has been decided or applied in the case of investment disputes. Weighing and balancing approach considers different factors.